Israel is continuing to pound the Gaza Strip with airstrikes amidst fears that Israel could launch a ground invasion. At least 21 Palestinians have died in the most recent round of violence, while 3 Israelis died on Thursday. Israel said it launched 150 airstrikes overnight, while Palestinians fired dozens of rockets into Israel. Israel has started to draft 30,000 reserve troops, and a sign the assault may soon widen. Among the casualties of Israeli violence was the 11-month-old son of a BBC Arabic journalist. An Associated Press photo showed journalist Jihad Misharawi clutching the wrapped body of his baby, who was killed by an Israeli round that struck his home Wednesday. Earlier today, Egyptian Prime Minister Hisham Kandil traveled to Gaza to condemn the Israeli attack.
We cannot stay silent about this tragedy. The entire world should be responsible regarding this aggression. Egypt, the revolution will not spare any efforts to exert every effort to stop this aggression and achieve a sustainable truce.
Meanwhile, in Washington, we're joined by 2 guests right now. We're joined by the award-winning Palestinian journalist Mohammed Omer. We want to thank you very much for being with us. Back again. Thank you so much. Tell us what is happening on the ground in Gaza right now.
You're welcome, Amy. Well, let me start with the last. I'm right now in Khan Yunis in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, where the Israeli F-16 missiles just fired at least 2 missiles, killing 1 person, and the person was just arrived to the hospital, Nasser Hospital at the moment, and he was identified as Ismail Kandil, 24-year-old. That brings the number of the airstrikes in the last 3 days to 502 airstrikes. This resulted in the killing of 23 Palestinians, mostly civilians, and over 230 people who were injured. One thing that we ought to talk about here is the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip. This is a situation of targeting a population of civilians, exactly like Israel is shooting in a fish pool, and there is no bunker or there is no shelter and there is nowhere to run for the general population. Gaza is living in a very dire situation. The UN has decided to shut all the schools tomorrow, as well as the Ministry of Education and Higher Education called all the universities not to open tomorrow. Gaza hospitals announced the need for medical supplies and medical stocks. I was just speaking to a number of doctors at the Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, and they announced that they are in bad need for 192 types of medicines that are not available in the stocks of the Ministry of Health or the hospitals. There is also the need for 450 items of medical supplies, or what they call disposable medical items. If these needs are not met by the next day or 2, there will be a big humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. The situation is deteriorating in the Gaza Strip. The target is indeed civilians. The last one was Hanin Tafish, a 10-month baby child who was killed by an Israeli missile. The missiles are falling at the moment as I speak to you, and as breaking news coming out from the medical crew next to me, the F-16s are targeting the beach camp in the east of Gaza City at the moment. The Israeli army or the Israeli F-16s at the moment, they are targeting the beach camp in the west of Gaza City at the moment. That's breaking news, and it's happening as we speak at the moment.
And Mohammed, the reports are that the leaders of the Hamas government are in hiding, fearing possible attempts to assassinate some of them as well. Is the general population or the security forces there preparing for a possible Israeli invasion again?
Well, there is no way to determine that, because walking in the streets or driving in the streets, you really don't see anybody in the streets. The streets are entirely empty. I was just driving from Gaza City to Khan Yunis in the south, and the streets are entirely empty. There is no people who are walking in the streets because the airstrikes are bombing everything that moves. Everything that moves in the streets is being bombed and attacked. And this makes things quite difficult for the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. There are talks about the big invasion targeting the Gaza Strip. We don't know if this is starting, but I can confirm to you that in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, Rafah and Khan Yunis, there is a unusual military buildup. We hear some tanks and bulldozers gathering around the borderline, but we don't know yet, as the operation or a larger scale operation on the ground did not start yet, but its potential with the Israeli threats at the moment. Just to clarify the last breaking news I gave you about 2 minutes ago, the target in the west of Gaza City is a car driving in Gaza City. It's a car driving in Gaza City, and so far the medical crew are not aware who is the target, and they cannot determine if there are casualties. But they say there are casualties, but we don't know the number yet.
I'm looking at a piece by Max Fisher in the Washington Post that talks about the killing of the 11-month-old son of BBC journalist Jihad Mishrawi. Not only was his little baby killed, but this Israeli round hit Mishrawi's four-room house, killing his sister-in-law, wounding his brother. According to BBC Middle East Bureau Chief Paul Danaher, who is with him in Gaza, he said, "We're all one team in Gaza." After spending a few hours with his grieving colleague, Danaher wrote on Twitter, questioned asked here is, if Israel can kill a man riding on a moving motorbike as they did last month, how did Jihad's son get killed?